And as of now, humanity is split. We decided to split the land on this rock that we were born on into nations. And we get our pride from conquering a piece of land or competing with other nations. That makes little sense in the big scheme of things. And perhaps noticing a neighbor will be a wake-up call that will bring us together to realize that there is much more to the third dimension, not just the 2 dimensions of the surface of the earth that we are sitting on, but in fact, there is a third dimension. There is much more real estate out there. There might be many more neighbors that are far more accomplished than we are, and we can learn from them. And that's why I believe we should be agnostic and just use data to guide us, evidence. That's the way science is done anyway, but it's really surprising that on this matter, the scientific community has very strong opinions. They say it's an extraordinary claim to argue that we are not alone. To me, it's actually the other way around. To think that we are special is an extraordinary claim. And the problem with that statement of extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence is that those that are making those statements are not seeking the evidence. So it's a circular argument, and they don't allow for new knowledge to be gathered. And I think the right approach is to collect the evidence. And I'm doing it myself in the context of the Galileo project and the expedition that we had to the Pacific Ocean most recently. That doesn't prevent us from finding any relics from them, because it's just like going to archaeological digs and finding relics of cultures that used to exist on Earth and died by now. So I call this space archaeology in space, trying to figure out who preceded us. And when I say preceded, it's by billions of years, not thousands of years like on Earth. Of course, many of the objects that we find may be trash, because our own probes that we sent out of the solar system, one might expect from functioning devices, is that they're guided by artificial intelligence. I call that AI astronauts. And of course, you can imagine gadgets that self-replicate, that use the raw materials on the planet that they land on to produce more of the same. Just a very advanced scientific civilization is a good approximation to God, because just imagine a cave dweller visiting New York City and seeing all the gadgets in technology, in terms of the lights, appearing as a miracle to the cave dweller. And so a more higher level of intelligence may not be easily understandable to us. And in fact, for example, in the Old Testament, Moses reports seeing the burning bush, and that was a miracle supposed to convince Moses to believe in God. But if I were there with the Galileo project infrared sensors, I could have advised Moses about the surface temperature of the bush, the amount of energy per unit time emitted from it, and whether it's an unusual phenomenon. You can imagine that a superhuman civilization that understands how to unify quantum mechanics and gravity might actually be able to create a baby universe in the laboratory, a quality that we assign to God in religious texts. And so the way I see it is there is a fundamental difference between religion and science, in that science is guided by evidence collected by instruments. It's not a subjective personal matter of belief. It's data that can be shared by all humans, and all scientists would agree as to the interpretation once the data is good enough. Science should be guided by evidence, not by prejudice. It should not be diminished by negative undertones on social media or by academic jealousy. And what I'm doing is seeking a higher intelligence out there, because it's not always evident here on Earth.